Hi, welcome to MyWealth.com. I'm Mike Conlon. I'm one of the senior instructors with the courses. Welcome to today's blog. Today's blog is entitled Financial Regulation. Is this a necessary evil, or is it evil necessarily? The best laid plans of mice and men often go awry. That's a quote from one of my favorite poets, Robert Burns. And I guess I feel the need to wax poetic here as I'm looking over the details of this Obama plan for new financial regulation, okay, and can't help but think that more bad is going to come out of this than good. Okay, let's face it, there were a ton of mistakes that were made in not so distant past, and much of the proposed actions being brought forth by the same people who were guilty of contributing to these problems. Okay, and I'm thinking of you, Barney Frank, with the Fannie Mae, and I'm thinking of a lot of Republicans in Congress who voted to deregulate as well. Okay, now I realize that Obama himself has done absolutely nothing but listen to those around him who were involved in this mess. Okay, and there are many others who were involved as well. We're not giving George Boy Bush a pass here. But at some point we have to ask ourselves if we want to live in a society where the rule benders actually get to set the rules. Okay, so the problem with this regulation proposal is threefold. Let's take a look.
As always, be sure to check out the written blog at www.mywealth.com/blog. The first problem with this proposed regulation is that regulation is backward-looking and not forward. Okay, we all know about the problems that we had with CMBS and CDS, that's credit default swaps, and with banks over-leveraging their balance sheets. Okay, do we really need legislation telling them not to do that again? Or has the market already done it for them? Okay, part of the problem is that these guys in power at these banks, they live in a consequence-free environment. Okay, they get government bailouts and guaranteed bonuses, which do nothing but reward bad behavior. Okay, new regulation doesn't change this, it just changes the way they're going to go about doing it. Okay, the second problem with the regulation is that it doesn't address the root cause of the problem. Okay, the problem isn't that we didn't have enough regulation, but rather that we didn't have the ability to enforce it. Okay, creating more agencies with more overlap is only going to open up more loopholes to be exploited. Okay, by the time the next financial disaster comes and goes, it'll already be too late. And that's what's become of American ingenuity. Okay, we no longer are defined by our innovation, but rather our ability to circumvent the rules. Okay, call me silly, but why aren't they talking about bringing back the Glass-Steagall Act? Okay, the Glass-Steagall Act was enacted back in the 1930s, okay, and it basically said that we needed to keep commercial and investment banks separate. Okay, allowing banks to use grandma's savings account to gamble with credit default swaps is reckless any way you slice it. Okay, the problem isn't the rules of the game, it's with who is allowed to play the game. So, I guess you can call me a playa hater, as in don't hate the game, hate the playa. Okay, and the last problem with this proposed regulation is that it fosters unintended consequences. Okay, one of the reasons why this whole economic problem happened for so long was because it was making a lot of money and it generated massive tax revenues. Okay, let's face it, you're not going to find a politician out there in this country who doesn't like large tax revenues. Okay, but if the game collapses on its own and you attempt to regulate the players in other areas, like if you talk about trying to regulate hedge funds, they're just going to take their toys and go home. Okay, this is not the time to be scaring away potential tax revenue with all the massive deficits we're racking up. Okay, I've heard of at least one sizable New York hedge fund who's talking about moving their base of operations overseas. Okay, and I'd be shocked if between this, meaning the new regulations and the potential tax hikes coming down the pike, there will be tax hikes. Someone's got to pay for all these deficits. I'm going to be shocked if more hedge funds don't follow suit. Okay, so don't wait, don't hesitate, get into a course, get educated, come to www.mywealth.com.
So who ends up getting hurt in the end? That's right, it's the little guy, of course, who these regulations are intended to protect, and not the rich. Okay, higher costs, more taxes, and decreased services will be coming down the pike in order to pay for our massive deficits. Okay, if history has taught us anything, it's that the little guy always loses in the end, and this time will be no different. Okay, regardless of what the politicians say. Okay, so this brings me back full circle to poetry. Okay, the evil that is in the world almost always comes of ignorance, and good intentions may do as much malevolence if they lack understanding. Okay, that's a quote from Albert Camus, a French poet-philosopher. Okay, so be careful what you wish for. Alright, so be sure to check out our investing and currency courses to learn about what you can do to protect yourself and your financial future. So I'm Mike Conlon. Thanks for being with me, and I hope to see you in the courses.